Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bingham Cricket Club YouTube channel. Now, today we're starting a brand new series that I'm calling Uncut, where me and Hayden Brooks will have a chat with a member of Bingham or an ex-member about their cricketing career in and outside of Bingham. I'm delighted to say that for the first episode, we're joined by first team captain Tim. Tim, how are you? Nervous?
Extremely nervous.
He has no idea what I'm going to bring up. There's nothing bad. Well, it depends what your definition of bad is, but I guess we'll get straight into it. So, firstly, what are your sort of first memories of cricket? When someone says cricket, what's the first thing you can remember?
First, this is quite vivid. I can remember this. First memory is my dad used to captain our Sunday second team, and when I was always a footballer, never played cricket, and I started playing cricket quite late actually. I think about 13. But I remember one Sunday, I always used to go and watch him, and he was short one day, and he just said, "Here's some whites, jump on the pitch." And I did fine leg to fine. Didn't know what fine leg was, but I was doing fine leg to fine leg. And about halfway in, someone kind of like hooked the ball in my direction. Didn't really know what to do. I just sort of stuck my hands out in front of me, not getting hit, and it just went in. And you know, it just sticks in your hand.
Yeah.
That happened, and then I got a bit of a lap of honour of the pitch. My 12-year-old self at the time. That was my first memory.
Fair play. That is not a bad first memory at all. I started playing at 13. I always use that as an excuse for being rubbish. I'm like, oh, it's not my fault. I started playing when I was 13. But now you've said that, I don't really have much of an excuse anymore. So you already mentioned sort of that football was your main hobby. Was that your main hobby as a kid? So cricket came on sort of by accident?
Pretty much, yeah. I was always into football. Started really early, 6, 7. Played fairly decently. Well, you wouldn't be able to tell now, but so I played for a couple of academies until I was about 12, 13, and then that sort of fell away. And cricket was then kind of the family sport, so I sort of just morphed into it. Always been quite sporty, and that just felt like the one to do.
Fair play. So your first club obviously you're not from Nottingham like the rest of us. Where was your first club? What was it called?
It's called Pinckney's Green Cricket Club, and it's in the village of Pinckney's Green that's next to Maidenhead, where I'm from originally.
So did it have sort of a junior setup, or was it just straight away you're playing adults cricket on a Sunday?
When I was 12, first year, no junior setup. I was straight into just Sunday second team cricket. So it probably worked in my favour in the end, to be honest, just jumping in the deep end. And then the year after that, because they had a couple of us playing in the Sunday second team, then there was a under 13s team that I jumped into captaincy of straight away, and that was it from then. But it was very much it was under 13s team, but I think there was me and like two other guys that were 13, and the rest were sort of 12, 11, 10. Very mix and match.
Hayden, correct me if I'm wrong. Were you similar? You sort of started playing adults cricket straight away when you started. You didn't start very young, did you?
No, funny enough, I started when I was 13 as well. And yeah, I pretty much started, Sunday friendly cricket. I basically just started, straight into it.
Yeah, it seems to be sort of the pattern.
So when did you start keeping?
Cheers to the question, Hayden.
It's a good one.
Yeah, probably. To be honest, the story of like cricket career-wise is that the first thing I said the story about catching the ball at fine leg. My dad was a really slow bowler. I wouldn't say a spin bowler. He just bowled it really slow. And he got loads of wickets, stumped and caught the boundary or whatever. So I was never going to be a fast bowler with him teaching me how to bowl. But I just naturally picked up leg spin. Just came out my hand, a dream from really early on. And you can probably tell when I bowl in the nets now, I've got a lot of leg spin in the action, just because I can't get rid of it. So I bowled leg spin well for the club. And then the year after I started, I did the whole district county trials thing and got in with my leg spin. Couldn't really bat. I was batting at the bottom of the order, but bowling decent leg spin in the overs. And then I think it was when I was 16, maybe 15, 16, I just rocked up one February and just couldn't bowl. Just could not get it to land on the wicket. I netted for sort of weeks and weeks and weeks. It was hitting the side net and it's hitting the top. Couldn't figure it out. Thought my action was the same, but you just rock up sometimes and you just can't do it anymore. And it was a bit like if I'm not going to bowl, what am I going to do? I was always quite a defensive, handy bat, so I was I'll just push myself forwards with the bat. but that wasn't enough. I wanted to be in the game a little bit more, especially when I was fielding. So I just picked up the gloves as well. And then the year after that was when I was keeping wicket and started opening the batting. And it's kind of been that way ever since. But even that, when I started opening the batting being quite defensive when I was 15, and I went straight into the first team because they didn't really have any opening batters. We had this Sri Lankan overseas, and he was just, had the 4-pound bat, massive guy, could hit the ball miles. He opened the batting as our best player, and it was very much just, Tim, you go out there and just be with him and get him on strike and all sort of stuff. And it's a shame they're probably not on play cricket, but there'll be some stats that year of 100-run partnership where I've got 7 or 8 and he's got the rest of them. And there was more than once where we would be on 55 and I'd be on 1 or 2. Just because I'd get in behind, I'd leave the ball really well, get it on the ground. I probably didn't score over 50 that year just because I didn't need to. I just stayed with the other guy. When he got out, I progressed on a little bit, got a few, but we had a team full of guys that hit the ball a long way, a bit like we do now. And it was just, I played that Jake Pantlin stick around sort of role. And I didn't really get to where I am now in that sort of best of both worlds, but probably a little bit more on the aggressive side until uni. And I just found the gym, having never been there before, put on a bit of strength, realised that I could hit the ball for 4 and 6. And I think as soon as you do that and you figure out that you've got 1 or 2 shots that are just take the fight to them sort of shots, then just your cricket batting game goes from strength to strength from then. That if I was going to give advice on batting, it would be find a way to be aggressive in whatever situation you're in. Even if it's just 1 shot, find 1 ball to be aggressive to. Then you can build your innings from the rest of that, and that's kind of where I've been.
So you went to Trent. What made you choose Trent, and how was the cricket there?
What made me choose Trent was at the time I wanted to go into investment banking, and that was the uni that offered me the best degree to do that. And then there was a little side bonus with the cricket pitch on the campus. That's probably because the other ones that were had in mind were like Chester and Portsmouth. They were both like city centre, really packed in campuses, and I didn't really want to do that. I kind of wanted to just
Clifton. I assume you're out at Clifton.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice place.
Bit of space, all that sort of thing.
So that must have been where you met the infamous Mr. Paul Maylard Mason.
Yes, indeed. How
did he get you to come to Bingham? How did that chat happen?
It's not really much of a fairy tale story. I think essentially at the time I was, around, had free time, wanted to play as much cricket as I could. Uni obviously offers you a lot of free time. And Paul was just, I think at the time that the team under Carl didn't have a keeper. And I was keeping well, and the other guys at Trent above me would kind of had their own clubs nearby to go back to, because mine was so far away I wasn't going back at weekend. So he just said, around on Saturdays, fancy playing for sort of 5 or 6 games at the start of the season. So I just jumped in, basically.
So was that all it was? I'm not sure I was around in 2015. I think I might have played once with you in a T20. You hit 80 not out or something.
Sounds right.
Recall.
Feels about right, yeah.
You were batting with Brent Cox. Do you remember, South African bloke? And you had him ruddied, and by the end he couldn't stand up.
This is a bit of a story game as well, because it was a semi-cup final, semi-final. It was an important game, I remember. Like an 18-over game.
Yeah, it was the Coke Cup. It was 18 over. It was sort of always historically a first team thing. And then me and my brother, who were both ranked spinners and had never played an adults game before, somehow ended up playing. And Sam, I didn't bowl very well, but Sam got their 2 best batsmen out or something. It was a mental game. It was
interesting because I think I got 80 odd in an 18 over game and walked off. Yeah, I've done really well here. And I think we had 180, 190, and that was I've got far too many. They're never going to get this. And then I think we went out to bowl, and our first team bowlers had sort of saw us into a bad position, and we were losing. And then I think you and your brother came on and just mopped up the best bits of their order.
We just bowled so slow that they physically couldn't hit the ball. We were both just throwing it in the air and bouncing it on their feet. Not that we knew what we were doing, but
what sticks in my mind is that there was a newspaper article written the next day, and it went in the WhatsApp, and it was Lloyd brothers save the day, and then in about 3 paragraphs in, there was a little Tim Snape's got 84, and I was like, just gripes on you a little bit. But yeah, that's what I remember from that game.
Got to be the match winner. What's next? So your first season, you obviously played in the first team. I assume there was no second team cricket for you. Then 2016, you didn't play for Bingham. What happened there? Were you just not in Nottingham?
Yeah, because I had a sandwich year course.
Oh, okay.
Started work in Essex, sort of. Well, instead of staying around doing exams into the summer, I kind of just finished exams and went straight to work in Essex. And then that year, sort of full circle round, meant that I didn't play the year after.
So then I assume you moved up to Nottingham because you got a full-time job in 2017, and then joined Bingham Cricket Club. Was it always going to be Bingham if you came back to Nottingham?
Yeah. I mean, I had a couple of good mates up here anyway. Bingham was a nice club. Kind of I enjoyed the surroundings, the people, and cricket's one of those things. Once you get a good group, that's kind of it, isn't it? Well,
2017, Hayden, you joined. So that's the year you joined. Collins either joined that year or the year before. So we started getting a few lads sort of coming from the city sort of area. So 2017, you scored a lot of runs. You became a lot more involved in the club. I remember there was a game where George Farrell, who was the captain at the time, was away, and you stepped in as captain. Do you remember that at all? Was that a big moment?
I think it was Thrumpton away. And I only remember that because of the tea, to be honest. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Thrumpton away. And it was it feels like a near the end of the game sort of thing. I remember getting bowled off a slower ball that day, actually. I think I got a bit of a start, and then just they had the best bowler in the league, and I had a bit of a, he's not going to get me out, he's not going to get me out, better than him, not going to get me out, and he just bowled me this slower ball, misread it, tried to put it into the car park, and they went me off stump, and it was a bit of a sad climax. But yeah, I mean, I can't remember why I was captain, but yeah, I think George just asked me midweek. I can't remember who was vice captain.
I think it was Cozzy. I'm pretty sure that year it was Cozzy. That was the last year before he went to Loudon. I'm almost certain he was the vice captain. If he wasn't, it seemed like it was him when I was playing, because that was the first year that I played for the first team. But yeah, I mean, you're sort of a natural leader, so I think it was sort of an easy choice for George. Then 2018, was there a chat with George of, he said, I'm not going to do it, do you fancy it, or did you just apply and then waited to see?
Well, I think I knew George wasn't going to do it, so I knew it would be open. And I no one else kind of had that I'm going to do it chat with us. So I was and I was always into captaincy, like the leadership role, and just thought I'd go for it, see if it comes off, and had a few good ideas, wanted to do a few things my way. I think I enjoyed doing it that week. George was away, again, good group, and I was around, so went for it. But I think I was, to be honest, again, I don't think this is a bit of a fairy tale. I think I was the only person that did go for it. So
that's often the case with Bingham. There isn't a lot of competition for the captaincy places. So I assume that wasn't the first time you were captain of a cricket team.
No, I've captained quite a few different teams. I was always captain of my age group side, under 13s, under 15s. That's probably because I was just oldest, which meant I was the best.
Yeah.
Which meant that's probably how it goes in age group cricket, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then I captained the third team at uni on a couple of occasions. Captained the T20 side of my club down south. So I'd always kind of had it around me and always enjoyed it.
So how would you sort of rate your first year as captain? I know you said to me before that you sort of feel you juggled people around a bit. I know, Hayden, you batted that season everywhere from 1 to 11, didn't you? Was that year?
I think 11 was the only place I didn't bat. It was the only number I didn't bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how would you sort of rate your first year as captain?
In terms of performance, yeah, probably like 2-3 out of 10. But I think the success we've had in the last 2 years has pretty much come from the lessons I've learned in that year. But overall, it was probably a really good thing. It was a bit of a perfect storm because we went up a division. It was all new rules. It was an all new game style.
Yeah.
Had a few new guys come in, a few new guys go away. It was kind of a, how do you juggle the team? Who does what? And yeah, I think it's not just Hayden. I think that year, the first game, Jake Panton was batting at 5.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a. I think that was the year where you played like 6 games in a row for the ones, and then didn't play again. It was just.
I played the first 6 games and took the most wickets, and then didn't play again. But to be fair, Nigel arrived, so I didn't really stand much of a chance.
And not to big myself up, but I made some bad captaincy decisions on the pitch as well. There was a Caythorpe away game where we had it in the bag big time with Nigel on. And then it was like the second drinks break, and I had it in my mind that I was going to bring the seamers back on and muck up the tail. Brought the seamers back on, and then we just ended up losing. Had to bowl Nigel again at the end.
I remember you bought Hayden on at the top end that I was bowling from. I was fielding at point. He's bowled a rank half tracker. He's cut the ball about 5 metres to my right, and Hayden's just gone, Lloydy, put a dive in. I was like, it was about 5 metres away from me. But yeah.
It looked good though. At least trying.
Yeah, if I had £1 for every time Nigel's brought that up to me, we were bowling well and Tim bought us off and we lost the game.
Yeah.
It's weird how you remember those things though, isn't it? Because I remember distinctly that we had the drinks break and you told us that we was going to bowl in the drinks break. I remember it was George, the other end. I remember us both looking at each other like, what? Why?
Yeah, me and Nigel bowled like a 12 over spell between us. We were going at like 2.5 and over. To be fair, you brought Nigel back on at the end, and do you remember Tom Rudman's catch?
Yeah.
He got tugged. He ran in and just went.
And I think we got pretty close as well in that game. It was only, I think Matt Spencer bowled a bad penultimate over.
Yeah.
Was that not the game where he got bought off really early?
No.
It's not Tom Rudman. Someone got bought off for bowling no balls.
It might have been Rudds. Yeah. I think it was his first game back of the year. I think he came down from Durham to play.
Yeah, that's right, he did. And he bowled 2 no balls in his first 2 overs. That game was really close. They needed like 4 off the last over and a bloke hit a boundary.
That penultimate over, I think they needed like in double figures, and it was still like, we'll have this in the bag. I just need a clean over from Matt. And it was going really well. And then I think it was righty-lefty, which didn't help things. But when it switched to the lefty, 4 balls in, Matt, who had bowled so many overs over the wicket all day, switched around the wicket. And then he dragged it like down, deep on short and on the lefty's legs. And he had 1 shot, he put it away for 4. And I took from that, once you're going in a certain groove, just don't change anything. Mm-hmm. Especially at the end of the games, don't try to be too clever.
That was the game where you opened the batting, wasn't it, Hayden?
Yeah, that was actually
one of the... Jake opened the batting.
Yeah, we actually, if I remember rightly, that was a game we actually put 50 on together as well.
Yeah, you did all right. I think a few people scored 25, 30 in that game. I remember Louis and Nige putting a few on in the middle.
Yeah, I think Colin scored. I don't think he scored loads, but I think him and Cam got a little partnership in the middle as well.
Begs the question, Tim, if Hayden and Jake were opening the batting, where were you? I can't even remember. I mean, you must have been at 3, but...
Well, this is the thing. This is one of the biggest lessons. I went into the year thinking that I couldn't captain, open the batting, and keep wicket all in the same game because it's just
a bit much.
Yeah, even saying it, that sounds a lot. And I had it in my brain that I just couldn't do it, and so I just had this constant stigma of you can't. You've got to keep wicket. You've got to captain. You can't open the batting. You can't open the batting. And that was quite an easy decision because first game of the year. I think it was like Chris Freestone and the Alfie Long.
It was at Radcliffe, wasn't it?
Both were opening batters. I was like, this is really easy. I'll drop down to 3. Alfie and Chris can come in. Drop down. But then obviously Alfie, who was a uni like me, left and he had a vacant. So then there was a vacant spot. And I think that week at Caythorpe, Chris was away. I was like, what do I do? But Jake was quite Tim, I'm an opening bat. Let me open the batting. I want to open the batting anyway. So he was quite an easy pick. But then I had I don't want to move myself to open the batting. I want to keep myself at 3 because I was at 3 and I had a couple of scores. And you know when you just like...
Well, you scored 50 at Radcliffe first game of the season.
Yeah, and so that probably worked against me in the end, because I'd kind of, that first game of the year, I got in my mind that 3 was going to work, and 3 was what I had to do to score runs, and that was going to be right. So that game, I was just, the paranoia was in, wasn't going to open the batting. That's when I was like, I probably asked Hayden in the car on the way there if he could open the batting. That's probably how late it was. But yeah, the big thing I learned from that year was that you can't meddle with the order and expect consistency, because it just doesn't work. And there's always going to be things like that go hand in hand, and people are away and whatever. But I think you always have a good handle on who's going to be around week in, week out, and then you just build your team around them. And I also took the just think less personally. I could have that in and done it. Know that now. Didn't know that then. Probably would have made a difference. Some stability at the top of the order. Thinking back to that year, we weren't that far off not being relegated. And if me and Jakey had probably done it from the start, we probably wouldn't have been. There was probably 1 or 2 scores in us. And I think that was the year we had those weird results against Southall. And I think I got 80s in both of those games. And that was from opening. That was kind of out of desperation.
The draw. The infamous draw against Southall. What was it we needed? 14 to win with 7 wickets left?
It sounds about right.
Yeah, tied the game. That was the day I wasn't selected, so I did the tees. I came along with my little trolley. I was sat on the side. Dax went in, got 0. Josh Beavis, Louis. There was loads of them. They just kept falling. It was crazy. Loz scored a few, didn't he? Was it Loz?
Yeah, he was 70-odd not out.
Yeah, he was stood at the other end watching people get bowled every ball. It was pretty crazy. But the season ended in relegation. Was there any part of you that thought, I'm not doing that again, or were you always going to do it again for 2019?
No. Personality-wise, I'm not leaving it in a bad state. I think the relegation was kind of I'm definitely doing it next year, because we need to get back. We need to get better. And I'd learned all this stuff, and I was like, right, next year is going to be different. We're going to do these things different. Going to put some structure in place and just go for it. So yeah, there was never any doubt in my mind that I was going to do it.
So 2019 was a much more successful year for the team and personally. You scored 1,000 runs at over an average of 45. I guess my question is sort of, where did it come from? Did that surprise you, or did you know you were capable of doing that? No,
because going back in my cricket career, since I was 16, 17, I'd always scored 1,000 runs in a year, always. That year before was a blip, if anything. I'd scored runs at the end of that year anyway, so I knew I could do it. Not being arrogant, but I knew I could bat. I knew I could get big scores, and 1,000 runs isn't that many when you just get 1 or 2 really big scores.
You had 151 not out that year, didn't you?
Yeah, and I'd like to back myself for like at least 100. Being greedy too a year. And once you've done that, then ignoring the average thing always just whenever you score runs big, the average thing is always just good. It never really gets bad again, unless you have a really bad run. But so as long as you get that 1 or 2 big scores, the rest of the year kind of falls in, and it kind of snowballs on. As a batter, I always find that when you're scoring runs, you're just more available, and because you're more available, you're batting more, so you're scoring more runs, and it dovetails into itself, and you always end up with scores. But yeah, I've always been around the 1,000, 1,200 mark. Since I've been 16, 17. So it wasn't. I knew once I just get clear of my head in that year after, get back open the batting, doing what I can do best, and I know things will be all right.
Fair play. So on the pitch, it was obviously we won the league, didn't we? We didn't just get promoted; we won the league.
Yeah.
There was the last game of the season at Farndon, the infamous "I'm a Div A player" quote.
Yeah.
You played that game, didn't you, H?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So it would rain issues. We batted first. I was playing as a bat that game, but to be fair, that's sort of what you said earlier. You didn't want to mess people around. You sort of had people's positions, and when you needed to choose someone, you brought them in to play at that position rather than. So when you picked me, I batted at 7 rather than me batting at 10 and you shuffling everyone around. I went in at 60 for 5, and then there was a rain delay, and they said it's up to your players. If you want to stop, we'll call it a tie now. And I believe you were very firmly in the camp of, I don't want to play. Am I wrong?
I'm pretty sure I voted to play.
I don't think you did. I
I
think it was the young lads. It was me, Louis, Sam Porter who voted to play.
I'm sure it was Nigel that was against, because I remember.
Nigel's definitely against.
Yeah, it was the VC coup. I'm sure I was in camp, yes.
I'm not sure. Hayden?
I can't really remember, I must admit. I can't even remember which way I wanted to vote, if I'm being honest.
There was a general trend of the older lads, Dax and Nige, didn't want to play, and the younger lads did. And it came out 6-5 in the end.
All I remember.
That's because Sam Porter came out from the change room last minute when it was 5-5, and nobody sort of said anything to him and just basically went yes or no, and he went yeah, and I was like, fine then, job done.
I think that was his first team game, and he came out, and you were like, well, you've now got to decide if we're playing this game or not.
Democracy.
Good captaincy.
Yeah, exactly.
So, a few things that game, though, I think, wasn't it? For the Dive comment, the rain and bowling from one end, and then you got
Golden Duck as well.
Dax giving the coach bits out at the end.
Yeah. Tim won the toss. Let's have a bat because I fancy a bat. Golden Duck.
Yeah, I need something stupid like 20 as well to be the league run scorer, and golden.
But then obviously Dax did what he did. 80 not out, 5 wickets and a run out from the boundary, direct hit.
Magic Dax, yeah. I've
never seen a performance like that from an individual.
No, it was a crazy, crazy day. And it was just, since with the whole Golden Duck, the top order just collapsing, you knew it would because we needed to win. And it was it was first or second. And it was our old rivals Hickling that we were vying for. And you knew it was going to happen. But no, Dax, fair play to him. I think in the weeks before that as well, he'd struggled. You wouldn't have predicted that was going to happen from Dax. But it was a very no, you're in, going to do it, and fair play to him. Just dug down, gave loads of advice to their bowlers, as I hear. And,
that did not go down well, did it?
He did things as well, I think he was batting outside his crease to one of their bowlers with the keeper stood up, and he was just doing his own thing. And it was just, you just have these days when things work, don't they? That was his day, and it was just working.
I was batting with him. I'd batted for a while with Louis. I think Louis got out. We put on 40, and I was still on 0. And Dax came in, and there was 1 ball to go in the over, and he was like, "Take a 1." I was like, "What?" He was like, "Take a 1." I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "I want to watch you bat." I was like, "You're having a laugh." No one has ever said that to me, ever. And he did that for 3 overs in a row. He was just like, "Take a 1." I was like, "I'm not good enough to take a 1, but, it's a nice thought." And then I got out, and it was kind of a blessing in disguise because he smashed it everywhere. So moving on to the 2020 season, again, I assume it was sort of a no-brainer for captaining purposes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Obviously, it was a different season. How did you find 2020?
Always going to be weird. I think at the time, personally, after the whole months and months of lockdown, it was good to just be out there doing stuff. I think none of us really knew with the new rules and whatever, what the format was going to be or how it was going to work, if it was going to work, if it was going to be enjoyable or not. But I think in the end, probably really positive actually. I think some of the things that have come in, I've really enjoyed. The sort of, no change room means there's no half an hour walk between change rooms and pitch and whatever. Bring your own tea. Really enjoyed that.
I'm a big fan of bring your own tea. It might be an unpopular opinion, but Kingo just put a message in the chat saying that they've got rid of teas in Sussex for next season. I would not be opposed if they did that.
Yeah, I mean, my only counter vote would be as long as we've got a warm cup of tea or coffee. That's my only little caveat on that. But because to be honest, just the game goes so much quickly, and other things like playing win-loss instead of playing draws, playing 40 overs instead of 100 overs, 52, 48. It's a lot better. You get better, as I think we had, you just get better quality games. You get more open games because there's no niggliness as they settle down for a draw, knowing that they can't win. And you get all this stuff. And the game's easier to play, easier to organise, it's quicker, you get more time in the evening. I think if if there was a motion to start earlier, I'd still vote to start earlier. But yeah, I think that the cricket on the pitch side, hand sanitizer breaks apart, I think the changing rules were really good, really suited us.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought 2020 was a decent season, even if it wasn't what it was supposed to be. We still got a promotion out of it, the second 11, so I'm not complaining at all. But did you know about that?
No.
The second 11 have got a promotion. Well, actually, we've got two. They've put us from M to K, so we've just completely missed L. I might be the most successful captain of all time.
Who's back?
100%.
Lloyd leads double promotion.
100% win rate, double promotion.
Yeah, where do you want your statue, Tommy Lloyd?
Chris, ASAP.
Yeah, it's a decent year. Hayden, how did you find 2020?
Yeah, I think just the same as everybody else. I think I was just glad in the end to see me mates and play a bit of cricket. I think that was. I mean, there was definitely things that I missed. So maybe more of the socialising aspect. Yeah. And I know sort of we mentioned changing rooms, but I do like there is a bit of socialising involved in changing rooms, and obviously rain breaks and all that sort of stuff. You get like the changing room cricket and all that sort of stuff. So I do miss those little bits from time to time. But like I'm not that bothered about. I'm not bothered either way about things like teas and stuff. Yeah. I can really take it or leave it. I did miss it, if that would make sense. But if it came back, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, why are we wasting this time? I did like how the game was hurried on though a little bit, where you start at like 12:30 or whatever it was, and you're done by 6-ish.
Just means you got more time to sort of sit in the bar, and if you're finishing at 7:30 and you're away, you're not getting back till 8, and then before you know it, it's 10 o'clock.
100%.
Tim, other than the on-field stuff, how do you find being a captain in terms of like the admin stuff and having to pick a team? Do you ever worry that if you drop someone, they're going to throw the toys out the pram, or are you relatively just what will be, will be?
I'm not worried about it. I think as long as there's just the right way to do it, personally. I've done it, and this goes back to that lessons learned thing. I think if you do the right things up front anyway, in terms of like investing in the right people and giving them an actual chance, as opposed to pick them 1 week, if you don't get a score, you're gone. Then I learned, you can't do that, obviously. But as long as the message is right, it's a friendly game. I don't see that sort of thing. And I think there's some structural things that help do that, and the things like people having a role, knowing what your role is. Big advocate of that. So when you're coming into the team, you know what you're coming in to do. You're not just being picked because another thing that happened in that year was we just had a lot of guys coming in that was just coming in to do 8, 9, 10, maybe not bowl. It's like that's just not a day.
Yeah.
Not for anyone, fair
Some
play.
Guys, this guy every week.
And I think you just don't get the best out of people. You can make the best out of availability is what it is. You're always going to have to bring guys up, put guys down and whatever, but as long as they know what they offer and what they're going to do, and if certain things happen then they're in, and I'd like to think I can get to a point now where in the availability chat I can just say you can just look at who's available and the team picks itself. Not just the team picks itself, but to a point where before first team games you don't even talk about the batting order because people know what the batting order is.
To be honest, as a second 11 captain, I find that very easy with you. I can look at who's available and know exactly what your team is. It makes my job easier because I don't have to worry about who you're going to nick.
Yeah, and conversely, if someone's not available, you know what they do. So you know who I'm going to take because I know what their role is. If Jake Panton's not available, you probably know I'm going to take an opening batter as opposed to a 4, 5, 6, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, there was only a couple of times all season where we even had a conversation about team selection. That only happened once or twice, so it's relatively easy. So moving on to 2021 and beyond, where do you sort of see your future of cricket? Where do you want to go? What are your personal aspirations apart from Div A?
I'm going to say, I mean, to be completely frank, Lloyd, I think the dream of professional cricket has sailed, unfortunately. But you never know. I'm not joking. To be honest, I see it at Bingham. I think we've got a good group. I think we've got a good enough group to play above our station, as everyone knows. I think if we can just settle down, get the best out of the guys we have, then there's no reason why we can't keep going up, onwards and upwards. And I think all we've got to do is figure out a way to just bring our best every week. Even this year, we've probably had a bit of indifference or a bit of up and down in form. And our batters probably this year got us out of jail more times than we probably deserve to be. But yeah, I think we've got the right people to play at a good level. And I think, personally, I think I see myself at the club for a number of years yet, fingers crossed and all that. But hopefully it turns out, and hopefully we get better and go big and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, I hope that's the case. So the last thing for today, and it's a big one, I want you to, as quick as you can, build a Bingham 11 that sort of symbolises your time at Bingham. Not necessarily the best 11, but just an 11 that, you'd like to play with week in, week out.
So kind of like an all-time 11 sort of thing.
But for you personally, and not sort of based on ability, based on who you'd want in your team. Obviously,
Okay.
you can start with you at number 2.
Me and JP, obviously. Can't get away from that. Although Chris Freestone, great bloke. I would say that. Had a lot of fun opening the bat with Chris. But, it can't be a fellow Trent JP. And, dream team, isn't it? 3... difficult, probably. The person I think has batted the best at 3, although I don't think he did it that often, is probably Ian Flood, and that needs no further conversation.
Yeah.
I think 3, even this year, is like if you want to break into the first team, batting at 3 is probably where you're going to get your best opportunity to do that. I know Louis had a bit of a go this year, and there's been a couple of others. Cam had a bit of a go. I think Morgs has had a bit of a go. I think no one's really nailed it down, but yeah, I think all time Ian Flood's probably done that. And then 4, 5, 6, I don't think you can get away from Alex, Hayden, Cam.
You've made it H.
Tin. Not an ability though. That's just banter. And he needs a vice captain as well. That's another thing.
Yeah,
that's a good point. But no, I think over the years, I think all 3 of them say enough. It'd be great if Hayden's shoulder hadn't come out of his socket and Alex could bowl again. But we are where we are, and I think we'd have a full team of all rounders, and I'd probably have more trouble in my hands getting the bowling order right. But no, I think they're really good now down their positions. I don't think you can get away from Morgs behind the sticks at 7. Enough said, really. Got a great pair of hands, steady with the bat. Not.
But hang on, who was at number 6? Was I not listening?
Cam.
Oh, Cam. I thought you said Morgan then. I was like, you can't have him in twice as good as he is.
No, we're doing an Australian. The keeper bats at 7. Job. Morgs. Enough said, really. Great pair of hands. Really steady. Offers something different. I think we're quite aggressive generically, other than Jake, and Morgs offers that something different. How many have I got left? 8, 9, 10, 11. I think Fish, 8. Really good guy. Does everything. Really, on his day can be absolutely fantastic. Always good for a laugh as well. Always good on a night out. Always good for a Ralph Lauren polo on the day as well. Can't beat that. You've got to bring some style to the team as well, haven't you, I guess. Dragging us up there. Ralph Lauren, Hugo Boss, who knows? One of those is better. Right, what have I got left? 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to make any obvious mistakes here.
I mean, there's one bloke that's obviously going to take one of those spots.
Oh, I think Tom and Nigel speak for themselves. Opening bowler, spinner. I think it's that number 11. Probably need another seamer, don't we?
Yeah, you've only got Fish and Rudds.
I don't think I can get away from Jakey Horn, seamer wise.
Good shout.
Good opening bowler, great guy, good on a night out again. Hilarious in his own way. You have these sort of stories and phrases and comments. Yeah. He's probably a good 50% of phrases that I'll bring out more than one time during a year, just in himself, which says a lot. But no, he'd be another guy that the dream would be, I'm coming back, lads. see you in May. That'd be the dream, Bakey. But no, that's probably That's probably my 11, to be honest. Pretty good 11 anyway. But yeah, probably epitomises my time at the club. But to be honest, I've even back under Carl played with some really, really good people back then. Guys that aren't at the club anymore. Had a really good opening partnership with Cozzy when I first joined. We were quite prolific. I'd be interested to see the stats in those first 6 games and open the back with him and what the partnerships were, because I think we were quite prolific at the top of the order. Brent, really good off spinner, that sort of thing. It's probably played with quite a number of good guys over the time, but that's probably 11 I go for.
Yeah, you've kind of seen sort of, even though they're only 5-6 years apart, you've kind of seen 2 generations of the Bingham first team. You saw the one under Carl, and then now the one under you, where a lot of the lads are city based, and I think our recruitment's just been top stuff. So that's everything from me. Unless, Hayden, have you got any burning questions for Tim?
No, not at all.
Well, then that's everything from me. Thank you both for joining me. Join us again next time, where I'll be grilling Hayden with questions. It's his go. Other than that, make sure you check out all our social medias, and we'll see you next time.